Hello everyone, I'm Joyce Butler. I'm an SAP customer and also an SAP mentor, and I'll be your moderator for today. Welcome to the SAP Analytics Innovation Community Call. We have a few announcements before we begin. This is the SAP legal disclaimer. As you read through all the fine print, I want to quickly run through some housekeeping items. Although audience members are muted, you can participate in the Q&A session by asking questions at any time. Just type your question into the Q&A text area located to the left of the presentation window, and then click the Submit button. At this time, we do recommend you disable your pop-up blockers. The slides will advance automatically throughout the event. If you are experiencing any technical problems, though, please visit our webinar help guide by clicking the help link below the presentation window. So let's begin. The SAP Analytics team is very excited to kick off the second call this year in a quarterly series. This is a great opportunity for you to direct the discussion and to get your questions answered. Don't forget to submit your questions via the Q&A chat or by Twitter using hashtag AskSAP. Now I'd like to introduce our speakers. It's my pleasure today to introduce Jane Landry, Global Vice President and General Manager of Business Intelligence. Also presenting today is Ty Miller, Vice President of Business Intelligence and Product Management, and Saurabh Abhyankar, Senior Director, Project Management. And now I'd like to turn the presentation over to Jane.
Thanks very much, Joyce, and thank you everyone for joining us on today's call. I'm very excited to be here, and I hear we had record registration for this month's call, so I know it's a very hot topic for all of you. So in terms of our agenda for today, we're going to take you through the BI solutions from SAP, and I'm going to start by kicking it off and really giving you an overview of our vision and strategy and give you an update on how we're progressing on some key topics like BI simplification that we announced in May of last year. So let's all do a little progress report and see how we're doing. I'm then going to hand over to Ty, who's going to talk to you about our data discovery and visualization solutions, including the latest innovations and product roadmap for SAP Lumira. And then I'll hand over to Saurabh, who will talk you through our enterprise BI solutions, and you'll get the latest innovations and product roadmap for BI 4.1 as well as what's coming next. And then I'm really excited to introduce a brand new solution to our portfolio around data center management. So I won't tell you too much about that yet, but I'm very excited to announce the launch of that. And then finally, we'll have lots of time for your questions. So Joyce will be asking us questions right throughout the presentation, and we really encourage you to submit those questions via the chat, and you can also ask your questions via the phone lines as well. So let's dive right in and take a look at what we're doing from a vision and strategy perspective. Now, for many of you, the first couple of slides here will be a little bit of repetition, so a revision for most of us. And for anyone new on the call, I think it's really important that you understand sort of where we're going and what we're seeing in the market that's really leading and driving the adoption of business intelligence solutions. And for me, it basically comes down to two key factors. And the first of those factors is data. The amount of data in the world is doubling every 18 months. And now organizations need to not only think about the information within their four walls, but what's happening outside of the organization as well, whether it's with suppliers or customers. And there's really key three areas now that you need to think about that data. Firstly is transactions, which is often what we have thought about, which is our internal systems, whether it's our enterprise resource planning system, our finance system, our supply chain management system. But we now also need to think about two other categories, which are conversations. More than ever before, our conversations are being recorded in things like social media, and it's really important to understand not only what is being said about your organization and your products and services, but also who is doing that talking, who are your key influencers. And then the third area is around machines, that machine data where we're now embedding sensors in almost everything. And now getting that information, not only just on a daily basis, but on an hourly or even in some cases, a second-by-second basis. So transactions, conversations, and machines. So that's the data side of the equation. The second side of the equation is the people side of the equation. Our expectations as business users and as consumers have dramatically changed. Almost all of us are connected now. In fact, most of us have multiple mobile devices right at our fingertips. And so we expect to have that information at our fingertips at any time. Yet the reality is for most organizations, less than 10% of our employees actually have that same level of access to information to do their jobs. So it's not surprising that business intelligence and analytics remains a #1 priority for CIOs, and that 75% of organizations are actively increasing the budgets for business intelligence. But there's some challenges that we still need to overcome regarding access to the data. Much of the data is dark data today that remains hidden. We've got silos of information across the organization, but we need to create bridges and break down those silos. And we also need to consider not only what's happened historically, which is kind of like looking in the rearview mirror, but start to turn our attention to what's happening right now and what's likely to happen next. So going from the rearview mirror to really looking through the windshield to see what's coming. At SAP, we've been thinking about how we help organizations bridge this gap between this dramatic explosion of data and those changing user expectations. And for us, it's really about two pieces. We need to empower IT to provide a framework that can deliver all of that information very quickly, especially as that data is rapidly changing. And we need to provide agility to business users so that they don't go out and buy multiple tools and bring them into the organization and create those data silos again, but that IT and business users can work in partnership to really deliver agility together with trust and scale. And so that leads us into how we've been thinking about our analytics portfolio. It really is all about providing that agility and that creativity for the business users. And here we're leading with SAP Lumira as that solution that can provide that agility, that flexibility, and that fun. And Ty is going to talk to us today about what's happening there. And then we also need to balance that with the trust and scale for the enterprise. And this is where our enterprise BI solutions fit in. And I'll talk to you shortly about how we're looking to simplify that solution portfolio so that you can really deliver it as a single trusted platform for the organization and reduce the total cost for your organization at the same time as well. And then Saurabh's really going to focus in on how do you engage using that enterprise system so that IT is no longer seen as a bottleneck, but really seen as a strategic and trusted advisor to the business. So let's talk about the strategy. How are we going to do this? How are we going to get there? Well, you'll see us continuing to do two things. We're going to continue to grow our stable core and invest in our enterprise BI and SAP Lumira on-premise solutions. And at the same time, we're going to make investments and innovations in the cloud. Now, SAP is being very clear about this transition to the cloud, and the reason that it's so important is it's really going to provide that strategic differentiator for many organizations. We're seeing more and more data and applications move to the cloud, and as we see that, we'll see BI also follow. And this, to me, is the ultimate simplifier, where organizations are no longer having to worry about that platform for analytics. They're working with vendors like SAP to provide that. But today, we're really going to focus our attention and the rest of our time on this session around our on-premise solutions. So we'll have a follow-up, one of the later half of the quarters, around our cloud solutions. And today, we'll drill right in on those on-premise solutions, where Saurabh will cover Enterprise BI and Ty will talk about the agility with SAP Lumira. But before we go there, let's talk a little bit about simplification. Now, we announced at the Sapphire conference and actually on an Ask SAP webcast at this time last year, our plan to simplify the BI landscape, where we're focusing on use case convergence and really reducing the number of tools in the BI portfolio. And on the right-hand side here, you can see those key use cases that we've been thinking about around reporting, data discovery and analysis, dashboards and applications, and making sure that your BI solutions can integrate with the Office suite so that you can deliver those analytics wherever your users may be. And to do that, we're focusing in on a smaller number of clients and really looking at converging the use cases from a broader set that we have today. And the important thing here is that everything that's in the BI platform today will continue to be in the BI platform tomorrow. So nothing is going away. But what we want to do is work on this convergence and have you take a look at these go-forward solutions for your next project. And this way your content will never expire. We support where you are today, but you can come on this journey with us to a simpler landscape. So you'll continue to see us invest in crystal reports and web intelligence in the reporting space. In the data discovery and analysis space, we'll be leading with SAP Lumira, and there's a great opportunity to bring in a number of experiences there. With dashboarding and applications, Design Studio will be that go-forward solution, and we'll be converging the Excelsius or SAP dashboards use cases, as well as web application design use cases into there. And then we'll have a single client that will work with Analysis Office for both EPM and for your analysis use cases. So this is what we talked about at this time last year. Let's see how we're doing 12 months down the track. So on the right-hand side now, you can see some of the progress that we've made to date. Now, I mentioned in the reporting space, we'll continue to invest in CRIS reports and web intelligence, and you'll continue to see enhancements there. But we also continue to support desktop intelligence documents so that content is supported on the BI4 platform. And we've had many customers who've used desktop intelligence that are now picked up and are using web intelligence, but there was one feature that they were still waiting on for some customers, and that is now going to be available in Web Intelligence 4.1 SP6 with freehand SQL support. So that's the last big tick in the box for those desky customers looking to move to Webby. On the data discovery and analysis side of things, where we were looking to converge those experiences and use cases into SAP Lumira, we've started the first step of our strategy was the convergence of Lumira with Explorer. And here you can now create that facets view that you have in Explorer right within Lumira, as well as largely recreate what you were doing with Explorer eViews in Lumira today. So I would say we're 2/3 of the way there with those convergence of those use cases. And the next piece that we're working on around that convergence is with search, so bringing that search, natural language search, into the Lumira experience as well. The second piece was to have a common experience between Lumira Desktop and Cloud and Server, and to have that interoperability with the agility of Lumira with the trust of the BI platform. And we've made a lot of progress on this front. You'll notice in Lumira that the Visualize and the Compose room, the experience whether you go desktop, cloud, or server is 99% the same. And we'll continue to work on now bringing that preparation piece that's in desktop today server side. We've also made available Lumira Server for the BI platform so that you can manage those Lumira documents and govern them all on a single BI platform alongside all of your other BI content. And this month, in the next couple of weeks, we'll be launching Lumira BW Acquisition Mode, where you'll be able to access BW data, bring it together with other data, and then create beautiful visualizations and stories that you can share with others. And Ty's going to share a little bit more about that. On the dashboarding and application side of things, again, a lot of good progress over the last 12 months. Starting with the interoperability piece, you can now, with Design Studio 1.5 and Lumira 1.25, export Design Studio data and use that as a start of your Lumira visualizations and stories. The Design Studio team has also done an amazing job around creating self-service dashboarding and experiences, including some pre-built templates that allow you to do things like have a BW online experience where users can navigate through their BW data all in real time. And they've even created an Explorer-like experience. And I know we've had some of our customers very excited about this. I know one customer in particular had looked at Lumira and they see it as a great fit for their analysts, but they've got a very large set of users across their organization. They've now deployed BI to over 75% of their users. And some of those users have a different level of skills than those more sophisticated business analysts. And when they saw what had been built in BW to provide that exploration experience for the end users, they said, that, from my broader audience, is going to be perfect. So I really encourage you to take a look at that in Design Studio 1.5. And we're now seeing a number of customers who have traditionally been on a Web Application Designer actually now adopting Design Studio for those next projects, and some very large-scale deployments and some very complicated Design Studio applications with multiple data sources are now being produced and rolled out. And for the customers using SAP dashboards today, take a look at what's happened in Design Studio 1.5. You'll now start to see more of those Excelsior-style controls that you can take advantage of. And we also have the ability to connect to universes. So you can go direct from universes to creating that Design Studio application. And last but certainly not least, on our Office integration side of things, we've now converged the EPM add-in with Analysis Office, and we deliver that now as a single client. So great progress on our convergence, and you'll continue to see our commitment to that convergence strategy over the next 12 to 18 months as well. And we're looking to get to this more simplified set of use cases and a simplified set of client tools. And for me, the key really here is that interoperability piece. I mentioned the ability to take Design Studio data into Lumira as well now. You also have the ability to go from Analysis Office to Design Studio. And we support all of the BI clients in a single mobile BI client with Mobi, so you can take any of that content out to all of your users across the organization. And you'll continue to see us working on those interoperability use cases as well as we move forward. So with that, I'd like to hand over now to Joyce for our first poll question of today. Joyce, over to you.
Thank you, Jane, and hello, everyone. Yes, we do have time for the first of two poll questions for the audience. And the question is, what is your organization's strategy for BI? Possible answers are enabling more agility and creativity for the business, delivering more scale and trust for the enterprise, following a balanced strategy, or being researched. Please select one and hit Submit at this time. So the answers, 50% of you are enabling more agility and creativity for the business. Thank you for your participation. We do have time for one or two questions. The first one that we have is from Sebastian. And Sebastian's question is, where is predictive analytics positioned?
That's a great question. And we see advanced analytics as a key part of the portfolio. So agility with SAP Lumira, advanced analytics with our predictive analysis solution, and then enterprise BI with BusinessObjects. And the key here, again, is that interoperability piece. So you can today take your predictive analysis and then surface the results of that as a Design Studio dashboard or as an SAP Lumira story. The other thing with predictive I think is really interesting is this part of the market I think is really ripe for disruption, because many of us don't have the luxury of having data scientists in our organizations, and even if we wanted them, they're extremely hard to find. And so what we're looking at doing with solutions like SAP Lumira is bring those predictive capabilities right into the experience for the business analyst and the business user. And Ty will share with you how we're doing that. Some of the ways we're doing it are things like visual discoveries, where you can bring in a data set and automatically see visualizations around it. You can run key influences to see what's really influencing that metric or that result that you're seeing. And we've got some new capabilities where we've taken additional predictive capabilities, embedded them in Lumira to now do things like time series forecasting. So those predictive capabilities are all leveraging some of our predictive algorithms under the covers, but the way that we're surfacing it makes it just seamless for a business user or an analyst.
Thank you, Jane. I believe we have time for one more question before Ty starts, and it's from Kathy. Where does Business Objects fit into this landscape?
Yes, so SAP Business Objects for me is key here because it provides that single trusted platform for all of your business intelligence needs. So when I say the BI platform, it's the SAP Business Objects BI platform that we're using to deliver that trust and scale. And so Ty will talk about the integration of Lumira with the BI platform, and then Saurabh's going to do that deep dive on that Business Objects BI roadmap.
Thank you, Jane. And now we'll turn the presentation over to Ty. Ty?
All right. Thank you very much, Joyce. Can everyone hear me? Joyce?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, and it's very much a pleasure to be on this webinar with everyone. So some really exciting things happening with Lumira. I feel particularly fortunate to be working with the development team and the go-to-market team and product marketing and everyone that's involved with Lumira. It's a really exciting time here with this solution. So we have a release coming out here in just a few weeks, as Jane mentioned, and it's really chock full of capabilities. And I'm just going to really quickly run down through the list of those, and then talk about what we're doing over the next several months as we continue to build out the roadmap for Lumira. But essentially, in just the next few weeks, you're going to have in the 127 release things like a unified storyboard experience. You're going to have acquisition of BEX queries from BW. We're working on having sampling for big data, which I'm going to show you a demonstration of. We're working on blending, where you can combine data without having a unique key and doing it directly in a visualization, for example. We're adding things like running and moving calculations, allowing you to do a difference from calculations, like a year-on-year or quarter-on-quarter, and do percentage of calculations. We're adding time as a data type that you can create really interesting hierarchies and calculations with. We're updating our data mapping capabilities, so if your underlying data sources and structure changes, you have a UI to remap your visualizations and your data transforms. We're adding interactivity to that combined story capability. So those infographics and boards and reports are all together, all interactive, one environment, much simpler. We're enhancing input controls. We're adding export detailed records from the visualizations, adding copy-paste capabilities in the story creation area, things like conditional formatting and color palette enhancements. So just with the release coming out here in a few weeks, there's a huge amount of innovation and capabilities that we're adding. So it's a really fun time for Lumira. Not only is Lumira fun to use, but it's actually fun to develop here. Now, what are we doing here over the next several months? So we're really focusing on three areas when it comes to Lumira. The first one is agility. And agility means this is the focus on the business user, so the analyst and the decision maker, and the features that are really essential to them to be able to use analytics to lead their decisions, to make their decisions in the line of business. But having just data discovery and just agility isn't really the only thing that our customers are asking of us. They want to be able to do that combined with trust of an IT organization that allows for the bridging of self-service and the agility that comes with that, and the business is demanding of that, with the governance and the curation of data and enabling this idea of decentralized analytics because we have a BI platform that allows you to manage self-service and data discovery in an enterprise. And then thirdly, big data has become a big deal for us, surely, and for many of our customers. And if you haven't seen or acquired a big data platform or strategy yet, believe me, you will. It's coming, and we're making sure that we are going to be there with solutions for you when you get there. Okay. So, what are some of the specific things that we're doing when it comes to the business user and the essential features that we're making available to provide that agile visualization for you? So, first on the list is data wrangling and blending. So in our release just coming here in a few weeks, we're beginning that blending capability where you can combine sources without actually having it on a unique key. But we're adding to that throughout the year where you can blend HANA data sets, for example, whether it's HANA Online with another HANA Online view or HANA Online and offline, blending more than 2 data sets or blending dimensions from secondary data sets, not just measures. So lots of really cool things that we're doing around data wrangling and blending that makes it really easy to combine data from multiple sources actually on your visualization when you're in your visualization in the visualized room. We're also working on adding more capabilities to our cross-tab or the cross-table that we just introduced with our 125 release. So being able to allow business users to do things like subtotaling across columns or search, using search and find capabilities within the cross-tab, doing like copying table values or expanding and collapsing hierarchies and hierarchy nodes. As you can imagine, a cross-table is actually really an important visualization when hierarchies are prevalent in the data source. So being able to expand and collapse those nodes becomes a really great feature. We're adding sorting improvements where you can do multi-level sorting or sorting by attributes that actually aren't in the view on the screen, or be able to have explicit sorts by dimension and by values in nested dimensions. So the cross table is really becoming a powerful visualization that you can take advantage of. You can also export records from that cross tab. You can customize the row height and fonts. And then we've also, we're adding Spark lines and bars within that cross tab. So you can actually have visualizations within the cells of the cross tabs. So pretty cool things. Then we come to location analytics or geospatial. And so this is an area where we're working on a huge number of improvements throughout the year. And so first and foremost is we're really strengthening our partnership with Esri. So we're planning on using Esri as a default Lumira geospatial capability along with our NavTech capability. And so where any customer of Lumira can take advantage of Esri's ArcGIS online credentials or online geospatial server without actually being an Esri customer. So you won't have to have credentials for taking advantage of that. And so you'll be able to use Esri base maps and basic layers and the reordering capabilities that is provided with that, and be able to save zoom levels in respect to color palettes. And we're also working to address the zoom capabilities that you have. So right now we have, I think, 2 or 3 zoom levels. We're working to have up to 10 zoom levels and getting rid of the polygon limitations that you have today. And then combining that Esri capability with our existing NavTech base map, so where you can really even more fully enrich that geospatial data, and you can match cities of all sizes and go down to the zip codes and really and you can choose how much of that base data you want. So we're working on having these base maps downloadable, so you can choose how much data you actually want to have in your geospatial experience. We come around here to then the chart formatting and customization, and we continue with every release of Lumira to improve the capabilities that you have and the customization that you have of those visualizations. And so we've added quite a few in 127 that again is coming in just a few weeks. And as we continue throughout the year, we'll add more. So for example, adding reference lines for measures and dates, or allowing you to have a line over a stacked bar chart. Do conditional formatting on charts and custom number formatting per chart or axis and legend and labels and tooltips. So a really rich collage of capabilities that you can use to really fine-tune and tweak those visualizations that you have. We're also adding custom color formatting, so you can have color sets for dimensions and color thresholds for measures. So a lot of great things that we're doing around just the visualizations themselves. And then, and this is an abridged list of capabilities. There's even more stuff that we're working on, but for this session, the last thing here would be then our formulas and expressions editor. So we have an editor now, but we're continuing to evolve that as well. So adding things like script, being able to script complex expressions, adding calculation improvements for restricted measures and custom calculations, being able to combine measures and dimensions in those expressions themselves, and be able to do that with dynamic text and be able to support things like median and standard deviation. So lots of really rich, great functionality that is really targeted towards that business user. So then we come to the next part of any real enterprise data discovery capability, and that is the trust. This is where we have the need for bridging that idea of self-service and decentralized analytics deployments with an enterprise BI platform to really meet the needs of both IT and the business together, where you want to have trust in the data, you want to have some curation, governance, etc. And so one of the first areas that we're working on for this idea of trusted data discovery is enabling that data wrangling from within the browser. So today with Lumira, you do your data wrangling and data connectivity with the Lumira desktop in the prepare room. And so we have had many customers asking us to be able to have that type of capability in a browser. So that's one of the things that we'll be working on is a common prepare room from that browser, regardless of whether you're using our Lumira server for BI platform or Lumira server for Teams or Lumira desktop, and having that all work together. A really, really important part of the success of Lumira is our ecosystem. And it's with our ecosystem that extensions really become a really valuable piece of the ability to extend the capabilities of Lumira. And so today you can use your extensions with Lumira Desktop and Lumira Server for HANA, and we're working on extending that capability of those extensions to our other server platforms as well. So Lumira Server for BI Platform, Lumira Server for Teams, and we will continue to add the numbers or the types of extensions that we have Lumira, as well as continue to improve our visualization extensions and data access extensions. So for example, with our data access extensions, we're now on the second version of that architecture, and we're adding the ability to install and manage those extensions with an extension manager, and being able to refresh those on the servers and be able to provide even faster data acquisition. And then with our visualization extensions, improving the deployment experience of those using our web IDE when you create them, and be able to add enhancements to the visualization engine so you can really speed up the development and promote the component reuse of those visualizations. So a component that you create for one visualization can be copied and reused in multiple visualizations. And then there are the servers themselves. So for example, with Lumira Server for Teams, we're adding additional data source refresh capabilities. So today with Lumira Server for Teams, you can connect to a universe that's in your Edge BI deployment, for example, and you can refresh those Lumira documents based off of that data source. But we're adding other data sources that can be refreshable from that server, from your browser. So that includes things like freehand SQL. If you want to connect directly to SQL Server, DB2, Oracle, you name it, or HANA offline, you can refresh those from your browser as well as a business user. We're looking at adding things like scheduling in Lumira Server for Teams. And then mobile BI is obviously a prevalent experience and device that our business users expect to be able to use for their BI environment. And so we're adding Lumira Server for Teams and Lumira Server for BI Platform for mobile BI support. We already support this with Lumira Server for HANA today. So if we move down then to Lumira Server for BI Platform, everything that we've done in Lumira Server for Teams, you will see that coming into Server for BI Platform as well, and then some. So for example, with the BI platform, we have things around publishing and lifecycle management and additional platforms that we want to extend this to be able to support the requirements of an enterprise organization. And so publishing, for example, being able to have slices of data in an instance for each particular user, or being able to add extension management at the server level for data access extensions and visualization extensions. Really important for an IT organization to be able to manage those extensions that the business users want to use. And then we hear you often that Linux is an important platform, and it is for us as well. Our appliance strategy is based on Linux, and so we'll be working on adding Linux as a platform for Lumira Server for BI Platform as well. So really cool things happening in the servers. And then lastly is our continued improvement in the way that Lumira connects to BEX queries. So again, we're working on this initial release here with 127 in just the next few weeks, but we'll continue to add capabilities about how we support BEX queries in general. So being able to do data mashups and visualizations of data that's coming from BW with data that could be coming from HANA or from a SQL Server, DB2, Teradata, or a universe data source, and being able to take that slice of data and really model it and look at it in Lumira and play with that data and create those visualizations that you're really interested in. So then next we come to Hadoop. So this is the kind of really a big data strategy for Lumira is Hadoop, NoSQL, things like MongoDB. We just released on SCN a native MongoDB connector as a data access extension. So we're kind of eating our own dog food, so to speak. And so this is something you can do today. But one of the great things about Hadoop is that it takes advantage of commodity hardware. And so you have massive data processing capabilities that we want to allow you to take advantage of. So one of the things that we're working on is the ability to take a sample of data from a Hive or Cloudera cluster, for example, and create your visualizations and then schedule the result set based against that full Hadoop or Hive cluster or Cloudera cluster to do all that heavy lifting of that data processing. And so this is actually what I'm going to show you a demonstration of here. And so in this demonstration, we're going to connect to 3 Hadoop sources. And what we're going to do is analyze house sales prices in the UK between the years of 1995 and 2014. And we're going to combine that with some UK census data from 2011. And we're going to join these data sources together using a third Hadoop source, which is based upon a postal code lookup table. And so the question we're going to try to answer here is, from the census data, which social category in the UK has been most impacted by the increase of house prices over the past 20 years? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and launch a screen share here, and let's take a look at what that looks like. Let me resize this window here to a size that should be appropriate for you and be easy to see. Give me 1 second. 1029, 1023. I've been told I should be fairly fine print here, or fine control of the size of the screen so you can see everything in all its glory. 576, 1024, we're almost there. Okay, let me go ahead and start to share. Okay, so what we have here is Lumira, and so we're going to actually create a new document by connecting to Hadoop using one of these new drivers that we've created for it. And so in this case, we're going to connect to Cloudera Impala. We actually have 2 options to do this data sampling. We can also use Hive, but in this case, we're going to connect to Cloudera Impala. So we're going to connect directly to our table in Cloudera, and this is my house sales table. And if you notice, I actually can choose whether I want to actually sample the data or not. But in this case, I only want to take 0.1% of the data set. So if I highlight here on the information, you can see that it's just going to do a random sampling of the rows. And so the technique is really just random. And you can choose what percentage you want to use. So let me acquire this information. And at this point, I'm going to take that sample data set and load it into Lumira, just like any other offline data source or any other offline acquisition experience. And so I'm going to then apply some transforms and use in the prepare room all of those transformation capabilities that I have. So I'm in the prepare room now, and you'll notice that I have this orange sample button that really makes it front and center that I'm only working off of sample data. And so now I can work off this data as any other data source that I've been in. And in this case, I'm going to do a split on the date of transfer field, for example. I'm going to put a hyphen in there so I can just pull out the year. And so then I can go into the visualize room and quickly create a visualization where I can start to see the changes in house prices based upon the average prices over the past 20 years in a bar chart or column chart. And now I can see with my sample data set, it's already giving me an example of kind of how this data is shaped and what I can start to expect when I'm pulling back this data from Hadoop and this Cloudera and what I see for these house sales. So I'm going to skip the part where I actually acquire the other 2 data sets and blend them together to get just one data set with the entire census and house sales. And I'm actually going to open up a new document or show you the results of a Lumira document that I created. And so this data set is still the sample, and it's when I've combined the sources, and it's got this chart that is showing the the social category by house sales price, as well as the number of transactions that have happened for each of those social categories. And so we've filtered this on 1995 and 2014, so you can really see the difference between those 2 years. And again, all those data preparation steps that I've done in this prepare room, I want to push them all down to the full Hadoop cluster. And so what we're going to do is specify a file name, a Lumira document name, and what we're going to be using here is Oozie. So Oozie is a Hadoop technology, which is a scheduling component that actually will take the request from Lumira, and it will apply that all of those data transformations and the processing to the Hadoop cluster, or in this case, the Cloudera cluster. So all those data transforms in that prepare room, all of those visualizations, going to push everything down to Hadoop and generate then an Oozie job that is going to actually recreate all of those transformations on that cluster, on the entire data set that is in Hadoop. And so if you wanted to, you could actually go to the Oozie scheduler, and we could see the job that's running here. And you'll notice that that new job, that number one at the top of the list here, this has been created, and this is going to be running. And you can see with the ID, it's the same ID that we see in the Lumira desktop that was generated. So I'm going to spare you the 10-minute wait time that Hadoop is going to take to schedule this. And I'm just going to open the resulting Lumira document and do a quick search in Lumira desktop and bring up the full data set now in the Lumira document. And so this is going to contain the entire data set that we've used for that Oozie scheduler that has been brought back now into Lumira. And with our embedded in-memory data engine, we can compress that data because it's a columnar embedded in-memory engine. So we'll bring up this Lumira document. And so now we essentially want to answer our question of at what point is there an impact on these users or the social categories based upon house prices and the transactions of them between 95 and 2014. And so I've created multiple visualizations here, but let's look at one in particular. And so the answer is that for those users that are aspiring and affluent, or not users, but customers and people buying houses, they're even wealthier now than they were quite a bit than 20 years ago. So they could probably actually handle these increase in house prices. But the next category of users, so these inner city students, they're probably struggling because the prices have raised pretty close to the same as these affluent users, but their salaries are in even larger gap now. So this is a great capability that we're working on with Lumira 127 and the big data capability and sampling. So hopefully this was something that you found interesting. And so let me move on now to pass it back to Joyce, who can answer some more or pose some more poll questions. Joyce?
Thank you, Ty. And this is our second and last poll question for the audience participation. The question is, what is your organization's priority for big data analytics? Fast visualization of new insights from Hadoop data sources, mashup of Hadoop and relational data sources, predictive analytics for Hadoop data sources, other priority, big data analytics isn't a priority, or it's being researched. Please make a selection and hit submit. We'll look at the responses quickly. And you're all over the board with 31%, almost 32% saying it's being researched. We have time for a couple of other questions coming in from Twitter. We have a question. Is scheduling for Lumira available now or planned for server, for Teams, and server BI platform? Ty?
Sorry, Joyce, can you re-ask that question again? I missed that.
Sure, certainly. Is scheduling for Lumira available now or planned for Server, for Teams, and for Server BI platform?
Right, good question. So scheduling is available today for Lumira Server for BI platform, where your data source is a universe. So with our new universe query panel. We're adding scheduling for other data sources, both for Lumira Server for Teams and Lumira Server for BI platform.
Great. So another question that came in from Twitter is, what is new in Lumira version 1.25 or coming in version 1.27?
It's a laundry list of a bunch of new capabilities. And I mentioned them just at the beginning of my session, but so I'll ring just a few here that are particularly interesting and exciting. One is that we have unified the story creation capability. So in the Compose room, you no longer have to choose between creating a report, a board, or an infographic. We've combined all of those into one element, and it's just a story. So now you'll create a story, and you'll be able to have text and visualizations and pictures and input controls, and they'll be interactive, and you can have the ability to explore and do analysis and the visualizations on those and have multiple input controls. So really a huge amount of work went there. Two, we're adding acquisition capabilities for BEX queries, so where you want to connect to your BW data and combine that with other data. We're adding this big data sampling that I just did a demonstration on, adding things like running and moving calculations or difference from, so you can do like year-on-year, quarter-on-quarter calculations, percentage of calculations. We're adding time as a data type, so you can, when you have date timestamps, you can have hierarchies based upon both the dates and the times and have those be part of various calculations. We're enhancing input controls and allowing you to export from detailed records from specific visualizations, and then little things like copy and paste of objects within the Compose room. You're building a story, adding more control capabilities on the specific visualizations like conditional formatting and color palettes. So a whole bunch of stuff that's coming in 127. And if you go to SCN or just Google Lumira 1.25, and you'll see a number of documents and information about the new features that were released in 1.25 just a couple months ago.
Thank you. We've got one coming in from the audience. Paul has the question, has there been any discussions about Lumira being able to consume the data stored within a Webby report?
Oh yeah, I love it. So this is one of the great reasons why we actually have extensions and why we enable the ecosystem for Lumira to build really cool capabilities that either we didn't think of or we don't have the resources to do, you name it. One of those examples is being able to connect to a Webby document as a data source. And so we already have a partner that has created an extension to do that. So APOS, just Google APOS, Lumira Connect to Webby or something like that, and you will see that they already have an extension that they've created that lets you connect to a Webby document as a data source. Really cool features that lets you take advantage of all of that content that you've already created over the past decade with things like Web Intelligence.
All right, I think we have time for just one more before we move on, and this is from how is data security and decentralized analytics addressed?
Well, that's a loaded question. There could be a lot of answers to that question. So combining data security with a decentralized, kind of BI environment, which is the inherent nature of self-service and data discovery. Well, the majority of that is what is provided by the fact that you can integrate Lumira with the BI platform. Because the BI platform has embedded in it these ideas of authentication and authorization, lifecycle management, auditing, monitoring, all of these capabilities that we have built over the past 15 years in this enterprise BI platform, these are automatically capabilities that you get to take advantage of with Lumira to provide that data security in a data discovery environment. And I really want to highlight here or point out what I think is really the amazing forward thinking that our architects had all those years ago when they created this platform. It's now many years later, and we have come out with a completely new technology, which is Lumira. And because the BI platform was built as a service-oriented plug-in architecture, we are able to add Lumira to that BI platform and allow Lumira to take advantage of all of these really rich enterprise-ready capabilities. So it's a really, kudos to my predecessors that had the vision to create that BI technology and that BI platform. It's a really fantastic capability that we're able to take advantage of now.
Thank you, Ty. So now we're going to pass the presentation over to Saurabh.
All right, well, thanks, Joyce. Thanks, Ty and Jane. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about enterprise BI. And as Jane pointed out, data volumes and user numbers have been growing really quickly. And this really means that IT needs to be able to be empowered to scale further and handle new and growing data sets. And this all while enabling end users, of course, with fast and agile access to information. We've been the leader here for a long time. As Ty pointed out, we've been doing this for about 20 years now. And the point is that we want to build on that solid platform that we've had now for 20 years and continue to move the state-of-the-art forward with all these new releases that we have in the pipeline. Now, of course, over 20 years, the most valuable asset that we've actually built isn't the platform, it's not our product, it's not our tools, but the most valuable asset is actually all of you, right? It's our customers and our partners and our ecosystem that has worked with us for a very, very long time. And the really great thing about having such a big customer base is that we get tons of feedback from you telling us, what we should do next and where we should go. And there's two key things that we've been hearing recently in terms of major investment areas that we need to look at as we go forward with enterprise BI. And they basically fall into two areas. The first is that you want us to help you create better and more engaging and beautiful content for business users. This was actually pointed out by the poll earlier that Joyce did, where it was very clear that you want to be able to get really great self-service content out to business users that's really engaging for them. The focus is definitely on business users. But the second thing you need is you do need a simplified BI platform so that you can handle the fact that data is doubling every 18 months, that there's more users than ever before, that business users demand more than ever before. So you need to be able to do that at a lower TCO on a solid enterprise platform. And so these are the two things that we've been hearing about, I would say, for the past 3 or 4 years, and it's driven a lot of what we've done. And as we go forward, it's going to continue to drive what we're doing as we go forward. So let's start talking a little bit about the engaging content. And creating engaging content is really all about the tools that you have to create and distribute that content. So we can look at, for example, Design Studio, Analysis Office, Web Intelligence and Crystal Reports, and Mobile BI. So let me get started with Design Studio. Design Studio is our modern solution for dashboarding. As Jane pointed out, this is our go-forward dashboarding product. And it is definitely a recommended solution for all BW and HANA dashboarding scenarios. And we continue to expand it and expand coverage for agnostic dashboarding scenarios as well. In fact, we just released Design Studio 1.5 just a few weeks ago in May. And we've done a number of new things that I want to talk a little bit about here. So first is, as I pointed out, we've improved our agnostic dashboarding by expanding universe support to basically all of the relational databases supported by universes. And what that basically means is that you can now create Design Studio dashboards on just about any relational database out there via the universe connectivity. The second major thing is that as customers have been rolling out Design Studio dashboards, we've also focused on improving performance. Because we have more and more customers with more and more dashboards, they've been asking us, can we make this as snappy as we possibly can? Can we optimize it on mobile devices? And so we've done a few key things here as well. The first one, I would say probably the most important one, is what we call query parallelization. And this basically allows any dashboard that has multiple queries to really reduce the amount of time it takes before the data is returned. Because now instead of running each of those queries in sequence, right, we can now run them in parallel. So if you have 3 queries, for example, each of which take 5 seconds, instead of taking 3 times 5 is 15 seconds, we can potentially get that data back in 5 seconds instead. So it's a huge step forward. And we've done other performance things as well, including improved caching and rendering optimizations. As I mentioned, though, the core goal of Design Studio is really to enable you to build really great applications. And a key part of this, out of the box, is to make sure that we have really great components. And in 1.5, we've taken a huge step forward here, because what we've done is we've added new GeoMaps component that allows you to quickly add maps to your dashboards. This is actually something that the customers have been asking for, so now we finally delivered that. And we've actually done it in a very flexible way that today uses OpenStreetMap, but can be extended and is flexible for the future as well. And the final thing I want to talk about around Design Studio 1.5 is something that Jane mentioned as well. We want to continue investing in interoperability between our clients. And in 1.5, we've added the ability to export data to Lumira. Jane mentioned this, but I want to add this one little thing, which is that from an end user perspective, and actually there was a question here earlier for Ty around data governance and these kinds of things. How do you enable self-service with governance? Well, this is actually an example of that, because you can create great dashboards, great reports, great data sets, right, and publish those out to end users using, let's say, Design Studio, and now enable them to take that data from a Design Studio app and bring that into SAP Lumira, and then mash it up with data and do all the great things that Ty was talking about. So this really allows us to go not only from Design Studio to Lumira, but also shows that you can go from trusted governed data coming, let's say, from BW or something else in Design Studio, and now take that data to Lumira as well, which is really great. As we look to the future of Design Studio, we have a number of things that we're going to continue focusing on. There's three key areas around more components, continue to progress on client simplification, and we want to continue improving mobile dashboards as well. As you know, we rebuilt our dashboarding solution a few years ago when we started with Design Studio, and one of the big reasons for that is because we saw this huge shift towards mobile applications and mobile dashboards. And so there's more and more of our customers using Design Studio for mobile purposes, and they've been asking for some specific improvements. So a couple of things that we have coming in the pipeline in Design Studio 1.6. One is around universe data sets. So again, there's more customers are starting to look beyond BW and beyond HANA with Design Studio, and one of the requests that we've had is to support more rows in Design Studio based on universes. And so we're actually planning on boosting the row limit above 20,000 rows, which is really nice. Another question that we get quite often is to have some more components. And the most common component that we will often ask for is a slider component. This is also something else that we have in the pipeline coming hopefully in Design Studio 1.6. So that's a little bit of a case of what we have in store. As I mentioned, there's also some new improved performance and offline support, or improved offline support for mobile with Design Studio as well. Moving on to Analysis Office. On the Office front, we have a strategy as well to simplify our offering. So with Analysis Office 2.1, we've brought together Analysis Office and the EPM Excel client onto the same framework with a common installer. And this basically allows customers to install it once and connect to both our BW and EPM product lines. Many of the other features in 2.0 and 2.1 were really based on these key customer enhancement requests that we get. So we've made improvements to scheduling, to the table design, for example, and we've also added improvements to the integrated formula editor, which is similar to things that people are asking for from the BEX world. As we look to the future of Analysis Office, we still have some work left to do in terms of convergence. And so, for example, we want to continue harmonizing the UI and the ribbon across the EPM Excel plugin and Analysis Office itself. So you're going to see that come more and more into alignment with each other and really harmonize as we go forward. Additionally, staying on that same theme of simplification and interoperability, we're also investing in interoperability between Analysis Office, Design Studio, and Lumira, right? So you probably know, and actually Jane pointed this out, you can already create a Design Studio app from an Analysis Office workbook, right? That's a great start. And we want to actually expand that to being able to take Analysis Office content, for example, an Excel spreadsheet, and also bring that into Lumira. So we want these products to work really well together going forward, and we're making investments across our product lines in interoperability. And that's Analysis Office. With BI 4.1 SP6, right, this is actually planned to come out just in a few days, sometime next week, I think it is. And we had some important updates for Web Intelligence as well. As many of you know, Web Intelligence has been our bread and butter reporting solution for a long time. It's a mature product with tons of features. And the primary goal with Spec 6 was to continue with the robustness and quality improvements that we've been making for a while. But we actually did get to add some new things as well that customers have been asking for. And one of the features is around the ability to query databases using freehand SQL. And this basically gives users the ability to enter some SQL into Webby without having to use a universe at all. And they can basically connect straight to a database via platform connection, enter the query, the SQL query directly, and be able to bring that data back into Webby. And actually keeping on that same theme of client simplification, this is actually another one of these features that we've had in desktop intelligence for a while that customers really love that we've now brought into Webby as well. So moving Webby forward as one of our core reporting tools for the future. As we look forward to Webby, so we've got the SP6 coming very, very shortly, and we've been coding now for the next minor release of Web Intelligence. And the really great thing for us in engineering and the team here is that we're really excited that we finally get to add some new features, right? With 4.1, the team was really focused on quality and making sure that Webby's robustness was there. And with the next release that we're looking at, we feel like we've got a rock-solid foundation to work from. Of course, there's always improvements that we're going to make on quality, and quality remains the #1 feature. But beyond that, we've got some really interesting things as well. And I want to highlight just a few of them. The first around, what we hear from customers that often people are reusing other people's reports. And the way that they do this is they make a personal copy of the report and then they edit it, right? And in some organizations, the original report can actually be copied and reused dozens or even hundreds of times. And that, of course, is great, right? It's really great that people are able to leverage each other's work and so forth. Unfortunately, though, once that source report is changed, you actually have to go and manually change all of the other reports that were copies of that source, right? And that's a lot of work. If you ever, let's say you made an error in the source, or you want to update something. And what we're doing in the next release of Web Intelligence is we're adding what we call Webby shared objects. And this is a really cool thing because it basically allows you to create a shared object from anything that's in a Webby report. So let's say a chart, a query, a table, even the report itself. And once you have this shared thing, this shared Webby object, you can then reuse this in any report that you want to create. And you have a choice at that time to either keep it connected back to the original object, or you can actually disconnect it as well if that's what you prefer to do. And then it'll behave more or less the way things behave today. But if you do keep it connected, the really cool thing is that when somebody updates the source, the target objects or all the objects where that was reused in the target report also gets updated. So it's a really great productivity saver. It's a great way for people to leverage each other's work across the Webby ecosystem. And it's a really great step forward in terms of report productivity and report reuse for our customers. And a lot of customers are very happy to have this coming down the pipeline. The second thing that we've had for some time in terms of our pipeline is the ability to actually annotate and comment on a Webby report. For those of you that are familiar with Webby or have been customers of ours for a long time, this will be something that you probably asked for at some period in the past. And now with the next release of Webby, we're planning on adding this. But we're not just adding dumb commenting. We're adding pretty smart commenting in the sense that it's contextual. So as you know, everything in Webby is contextual. It's either in a block or it's based on some kind of a filter. And so if you apply a comment on, let's say, revenue for Canada, right? And then somebody else opens that report, but they change the filter and they're not looking at Canada anymore. They're looking at, let's say, France or the United States or something. They won't see that comment anymore, but they may see a comment that came from somebody that typed something in for the United States. These are contextual comments displaying against the data that you've actually commented against. And we're really happy to bring that feature in as well. And the final one I want to point out, and there's lots of things that we're working on, of course, but I'm just trying to stick to the highlights here. The final one that I want to point out is actually a feature that we've already also delivered in Design Studio, and that's parallel queries. And in Webby, it's very, very common to have multiple queries in a Webby document. And for the last 10 years, we've been running these queries in serial mode. And now with the next release, what we're planning on doing is running those in parallel. And so the example that I gave for Design Studio, where you have 3 queries, each taking 5 seconds, that example applies here as well. So instead of taking 15 seconds and running them serially, it'll take less than that, 5 or 6 seconds maybe for that little extra processing to bring the queries together. So that's a really great feature. And we're really excited about the new things that we're working on in Webby. It's been a while since we've been able to really focus back on innovation, and it's really refreshing for the team to do this. So hopefully you like them and you work with us. We're planning some betas and other things as we go forward, and we'll be able to give you more information as we go forward as well. Now, Design Studio and Web Intelligence are all about creating engaging content for business users, all right? But many of these users now want to receive that content on mobile devices. And this allows them to bring analytics outside the building to help sort of engage in more useful customer engagements, right? And there's basically 2 things that we're looking at and that we're working on for mobile BI. The first is that we want to continue to optimize all of our content for mobile devices. Right? So on the Lumira front, we plan to improve gesture support, add offline support for Lumira content, and make sure that end users have a really natural experience on mobile devices. Also, if you know the history of our mobile BI offering, we've had it out now for a few years. We first built mobile BI for iOS devices. But what we've seen lately, over the past couple of years, is increasing demand for Android as well. And so what we plan to do is to bring our Android support more in line with the features that we have in iOS. It won't be exactly the same, but we want to bring the Android support up, certainly. And then on the second side, on the platform side, we're adding support for Lumira Edge and the Lumira that works with the BI platform. We're also adding a number of authentication features, such as SAML support and Touch ID integration. Right? The point here really is that we continue to invest in trusted data discovery across our portfolio, and including and extending to mobile BI as well. So everything I've talked about so far is really about enabling you to create engaging, trusted reports and dashboards and office content that you can then push out to all the users in your organization across all kinds of devices, whether it's a laptop or a mobile device or something else, right? And now what we'll do is talk a little bit about that platform that Kai referenced earlier on. So as I mentioned before, BI 4.1 SP6, since it's a service pack, focuses mainly on robustness and quality. Right? So most of the features that we're adding in SP6 are really related to security and robustness. So for example, we're enhancing the password policy and secure FTP support. In addition, we do continue to move the platform forward. Right? So in the service packs, we do add support for new kinds of platforms and new environments. So in SP6, we're adding support for Microsoft Azure, Safari 8, Tomcat 8, and NetWeaver 7.4 SP9. Right, so that's Service Pack 6 of the platform. But as we go forward, our focus continues to be on, I would say, robustness and making sure that you have a rock-solid BI platform that allows you to scale BI across your whole organization. Right? And we want to do that while reducing the TCO at the exact same time. So the question is, how do we do that? And so what we did is we actually looked at all of the things that it takes for a customer to upgrade from one version of a platform to the next version. And we said, well, you know, how many of these things can we optimize? How much simpler can we make this so that our customers are spending more time building great content and working with end users and less time managing a platform, basically, right? And so there's a few things that we're looking at. So the first is around improved patching and reduced downtime during upgrades. Okay, so we're going to work on that, and we've been working on that for some time now. And it actually includes a faster installer as well. And similar to that, one of the things that we found is that when a customer upgrades from one version to another, they have to actually go back and look at all of their Webby reports, because they want to make sure that any numbers or anything between the pre-upgraded reports and the post-upgraded reports stays the same, right? They don't want that stuff to change. And that was a lot of work. If you have tens of thousands of Webby documents, verifying all of those is a lot of difficult work. And so what we're doing in the next as well is we're making available a new report comparison tool. And this basically allows you to compare the pre-upgrade and post-upgrade Webby documents so that you know which reports are good to go and which ones you need to pay special attention to. And if you have tens of thousands of reports, that can save you a ton of time during an upgrade. The last thing I want to talk about is that we're also making it easier for you to leverage the universes that you have in departmental scenarios and extended scenarios. And so we're adding what's called linked universes. And the idea here is that if you have many departments or many projects that require universes that are all very similar, maybe the only difference is about 10% or something like this, today you would have to go and create separate universes for all of those, and you'd have to manage end-to-end each of those universes. So maybe you have 10 or 20 of these. Well, what you can do with linked universes, you can create a single, and I apologize for the term, you can create a single master universe, or a central universe, if you will, and then create linked universes off of that. And so the linked universes can be 10% or 20% different than the master one. But the really nice thing about that is that when it comes to managing and maintaining this thing, you can manage and maintain the centralized universe, and that'll propagate out to the linked universe as well. So similar to the Webby shared objects, you're able to reuse content in a much more scalable, enterprise-friendly fashion. And finally, there's a million other features we'd love to add, and we'd love to ship at every single release. And of course, we can't do that. But the good news is that we have one of the biggest and best partner ecosystems, basically in enterprise software. So our goal is to continue to give them the ability to innovate on top of our platform. Ty pointed out earlier on some of the innovations that some of our partners have been doing with us already, of course, right? And we want to continue moving that forward because the world is changing really fast, and our partner ecosystem can really help our customers enable all these different use cases that maybe we can't do out of the box. Okay, so there's a few things that we're doing. So in addition to adding new platforms and data sources and the usual stuff as you go from release to release, we do also plan on delivering new APIs and extension capabilities across Webby and the platform. So we're adding a new extension API for Webby so that partners can add new visualizations and data providers. And we're also enhancing our platform REST SDK as well. And as you probably know, with Design Studio, with pretty much every release, the SDKs and the APIs and the extensibility there continues to get better and better and better as well. So we've got lots of great partners building some really interesting things using our extensions. So in summary, as you can see, we've been pretty busy, right? Now I only got 15 minutes today, so I was only able to give you a bit of a taste. But hopefully, you stay in touch with us. You get in touch with some of our experts. We've got great people on all these products on Design Studio, Webby, Analysis Office, the platform, Crystal Reports, and mobile. And you can get in touch with them directly. You can get the detailed feedback on the roadmaps, as well as as we enter new phases, play with some of the betas and so forth. So we've got lots of really great things. We've got a new release of Design Studio coming later this year, Analysis Office, Web Intelligence, and we really hope to make it possible for you to create better and more engaging content for your business users faster than ever before. And to do that on top of a rock-solid, market-leading enterprise BI platform that's working and ready for you today, but into the years ahead as well. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Jane, and I thank you all for your time.
Great, thanks very much, Saurabh. So much coming with the enterprise BI platform and business objects. Fantastic to see. So now I have the pleasure of introducing a brand new solution to the SAP BI portfolio. It's called SAP IT Operations Analytics. And just to give you a little bit of context here, this solution is really designed to help IT manage that modern data center. And in an average data center today, this is data that's actually come out of one of SAP's own data centers. You'll find that there's lots of information. In fact, in just one of our data centers, we're generating over 500 million events daily. And that information is difficult to consume because it's typically coming from numerous and disparate sources. Everything from applications to servers, from power consumption to configuration to event data that's coming in from sensors. And SAP, our own organization, we were looking at how we could manage this. And typically, today in the data center, you'll find that each different group is using different tools. And we had actually looked at bringing in a solution to provide analytics across our data center and found that most of the solutions available on the market today required you to replace the tools you already had in your environment. So we saw there was an opportunity to provide a better way to deliver analytics for IT operations and have developed this solution. And it's really hard right now when you've got those disparate tools to understand what's actually happening across that whole operation analytics, that whole IT operations environment. So for an example, as a user, I might be having a problem with one application, I log a ticket, but it could actually be another application that's consuming the memory that's causing my application to run slow. So traditionally it's been very difficult for IT to actually diagnose some of these root cause issues. So SAP has developed this new solution called SAP IT Operations Analytics to solve these problems. And it doesn't replace anything in the landscape today, but acts as a layer on top that really enables you to get that end-to-end view of what's happening across the data center. Now, this solution is being developed as a native app on top of HANA, but you don't require a separate HANA license to run it. We've actually OEM'd HANA and Smart Data Streaming under the covers, and they're all included in this single solution. So this enables you to do real-time streaming of log data and really give you that holistic view of your data center in real time. And different data sources can be combined in that single analytic view to improve the mean time and the resolution and make that root cause analysis that I mentioned that's so difficult to do a lot easier. So this solution is moving into release to customer or ramp up starting this month, and we're actually actively looking for customers to join that ramp up program. So if you're interested in that, please contact us at Ask SAP, and we will follow up with you and get you into that ramp up. And so with that, I'm now going to hand back to Joyce to ask some additional questions.
Thank you, Jane, and I'm looking forward to the analytics. So our next question from the audience is from Peter. Peter's question is, does the universe authoring on BEX queries replace or work in conjunction with BEX connectivity for BEX queries?
That sounds like a great question for Ty.
Yeah. I think that's Saurabh, actually. I know the answer, but I'm going to give Saurabh the first dibs.
Sure, I can take it. Why not? No, it doesn't replace anything. So it's that simple. So basically what we've done, well, a lot of our customers, they have these BEX queries that are designed by IT professionals. And basically what they want is, sometimes those BEX queries have fairly complicated objects and object names and things like that in them. And basically what they want to do is when they expose that to a web intelligence user, they basically want to simplify it. Right? So the authored universes is not anything sophisticated. It's actually, it's more cosmetic than anything. And it basically allows you to take a BEX query and create a universe on top of that basically changes the names of some of the objects to be, let's say, more business friendly for that particular scenario that you're trying to enable. It also allows you to hide any objects that you don't want the end user to see. You can regroup objects, for example, into consistent groupings and things like that. And it's really about making it easier for the end users to understand and focus just on the things that they want. And it's also good for scenarios where, for example, you have a single BEX query that has lots and lots of stuff in it, and you want to share that out with different types of web users. You could potentially create multiple universes on top of that BEX query, and then for each group, just kind of show the things that you want and use the terminology that you want.
Great, thank you. So our next question is from Gregory. Gregory is requesting, in which version of BO Web Intelligence do the features mentioned on the slide, when will they be available? What are the timelines?
Sure, so which slide was, I guess it's only 2 slides, right? So there's the SV6 stuff, so that's like next week. But I think the one you're referring to is the future plans, right? The ones with the shared objects, the annotations and so forth. And so that's basically planned for what we're internally calling BI 4.2, right? So that's planned for late this year, early next year. Of course, that's a forward-looking statement, so these things can change, but that's what they're currently slated for.
Thank you. So now we have one from Ralph. Ralph's question is, any future plans for an all-around commenting solution on BI platform for all BI tools?
Yes. So in fact, So in fact, the way we've implemented, I mean, this is internal stuff, right? But the team was actually really smart. The way they implemented this particular commenting feature is they didn't do it just in Webby. In fact, they did it at the platform level, and Webby just happens to be the first client that's consuming that. And we're also now working with the Design Studio team and other teams to figure out how can we, potentially reuse that same foundation for commenting in other products. So that's definitely our intention.
Okay. So the next one, we got a lot of great questions. Next one up is from Naveen. Is the performance of Webby reports on IT authored universes on BEX queries comparable to BIX connected BEX queries?
I don't want to set the wrong expectation here by saying yes. It should be, but I don't have any performance numbers for each day to verify one way or another.
Okay. So from Alan, when will there be any support for Google Map functions the mobile Webby can do in the browser version? That make sense? Will there be any support for the Google Map functions the mobile Webby can do in the browser version?
I see. So some of the Google stuff that we added on the mobile side, are we going to do on the browser side? I can double check that for you. I don't actually have the answer off the top of my head.
Okay, so we'll get the answer and they'll be posted with the other questions.
For sure.
From Simon, did I understand you correctly that to join the ramp up of SAP IT Operations Analytics, just tweet to Ask SAP?
Yeah, let us know, or you can send me a direct message at Jane Landry, and send that over to me, and we'll get you connected with the Ramp Up team there. And there's a couple of ways that you can participate in the Ramp Up. We're looking for customers that will be formally part of Ramp Up, and obviously we want projects that are going to be fast to go into production, so we can get out of Ramp Up and GA the software. But we're also looking for customers to participate more informally, and partners to participate more informally with Ramp Up as well. So there's a couple of different ways that you can be part of that Ramp Up program.
Great. Now we have a question on Lumira from Andrew. Andrew's question is, Lumira isn't supported on Crystal Server. What do customers using Explorer do in the future? Will a processing server be added to Crystal Server?
I think, was that a question for you, Jane, or is that for, so technologically speaking, it is something that we can do. Right now we're focused on Lumira Server for Teams, which is really for the small line of business organizations similar to where the Crystal Server would be used. You should be able to connect your Lumira Server for Teams to universes that are running on Crystal Server, as long as your Crystal Server is at the right versioning for that to happen. But at this point, it's an unanswered question about whether we would actually enable Crystal Server to be a platform upon which we would enable you to install Lumira on top of, like we can do today with SBI.
Yeah, and okay, from a licensing perspective, you can purchase Lumira Edge today, which is a package that includes Team Server that Ty mentioned, as well as Lumira Server for the BI platform. And the reason that we put those two pieces together is it means that you can get a small team up and running quickly by themselves. But then if you want to integrate that and bring that content into the BI platform, whether it's Crystal Server or Edge BI or the BI Suite, that you can do that as well. So you'd purchase that Lumira Edge package and then have that flexibility to deploy Lumira to a small team standalone, or to integrate it back in with your existing Crystal Report Server platform.
Right now we're switching over to Design Studio. Ahmed, his question is, when can we view mobile Design Studio dashboards without having to go through the BI app?
That's a good one. So I assume that this basically means the ability to add a Design Studio app basically to the iOS home screen or something like this, just like a regular app, and not having to go through Mobi, right? So this is actually something that we're working on. I don't think I have a time frame for you, but I know that Philip and Eric and others were talking about this just a few weeks back. It's a pretty common request that we get, so it's definitely in our pipeline. I just don't have a specific date for you yet.
All right, so another question from Nick. Nick, is broadcasting of Design Studio reports available?
I can answer
that one time?
Sure. It's not available today, broadcasting for Design Studio, but the ability to schedule and broadcast in general for Design Studio using the BI platform is definitely, it's something that is on essentially our to-do list for Design Studio. We want Design Studio to take even more advantage of the BI platform, but it's again, it's not there today.
Okay. We have one from Mustafa. SAP's UX strategy states that all applications and UI technologies to converge to the SAP Fiori UX. How will this be reflected in the BusinessObjects BI platform and client tools?
I can start with that. So with the BI platform and client tools, we're working on integrating with Fiori elements, including the Fiori Launchpad, for example. So both Design Studio and Lumira have started this, where you can have a Fiori tile that lets you jump from the tile into a Lumira story, for example. And we're working on using or adding open document capabilities into those Fiori tiles, so you can jump into a BI4 document type as well, like Webby or an analysis for Office or Chris reports as examples. And you'll also see some design elements of Fiori in both Design Studio and Lumira. But you'll see more integration, or I should say more adherence to the Fiori design type as you see us working on further solutions that we're integrating with other Fiori applications. So Cloud for Planning, for example, would be a good example of this.
Thank you, Ty. We've got one more on Infinite Insight. What is the future of SAP Infinite Insight?
Yes, so Infinite Insight is part of our predictive solutions, and we've actually brought together Infinite Insight together with SAP Predictive Analysis into a single client now called SAP Predictive Analysis. So that sits in our advanced analytics part of the portfolio, but as I mentioned earlier, we've been working on the interoperability between predictive analysis, which is typically your hardcore data scientists and your power users, and Lumira, so that you can bring the results of that analysis in as a Lumira story, or even in as a Design Studio dashboard is another common use case there.
Thank you, Jane, and I think that's about all the time we have for today's session. I want to thank you everyone for attending and taking the time out of their busy schedules to join in on the conversation today. We'll be sending the recorded version of today's call out to you by email in the next few days. And in the meantime, you can watch all the past sessions on sapbi.com. Just click on Events and Webinars. You can also continue to connect with us via Twitter with the hashtag AskSAP to follow the latest topics of discussions and details for our next community call. I'm going to hand the mic back over to Ty for some closing remarks. Thank you again, and enjoy the rest of your day. Ty?
Yeah, thank you, Joyce. And just a quick resource slide here for everyone that you can go to. These links are also available in your. There's a link directory in the user view that you can click on. It's actually a folder icon at the bottom of your console, where you can go to places like sapbi.com and take advantage of all of the a significant number of BI 4.1 resources if you haven't gotten to 4.1 yet, to help you get there, and if you're already there, to help you understand how you can take advantage of it more. As well as a link to saplumira.com, where you can actually download Lumira and try the standard edition for free, as well as take advantage of our Lumira Cloud edition as well. And as one last closing remark, I'd like to highlight that we are starting our Data Genius contest again. And so this is where another great opportunity to connect with the community, the SAP Lumira community, through the Data Genius 4 Challenge, where you can help really solve real-world problems using SAP solutions. And so with this version of the Data Genius 4, we'll have the top 3 winners receiving cash prizes, which we'll donate to charities that you choose. And then we'll also be, for each of those winners, we'll be giving a Sapphire 2016 pass. So please go to ideas.sap.com/datagenius, and you can get more information on that. So again, thank you everyone. Thank you to all the presenters. Thank you, Joyce, for moderating. And everyone have a great day and take advantage of the BI solutions from SAP. I think you'll have a lot of fun with them.